And we are back. Episode 21 of Split Screen Experience. And today's are looking a little bit more quiet than usual, isn't it, Harmon?
Yeah, we're definitely going back to our roots. Only two people. We had to record it on a different day due to some scheduling conflicts, so we weren't able to get the other members or bring on any guests. So you just have to deal with us today.
And, someone might walk in, depending on if they get off their nuts, but we're not promising anything.
Nope. So prepare for 2, but maybe 3.
I know you want to kick things off here probably with the Elden Ring conversation.
Well, you know it. Elden Ring's been really the only game I've been playing.
I know.
And I still find it funny that on Steam, only 37% of people are going to be able to play the DLC.
Correct.
Even less on the consoles.
Yeah, do we have a stat for completion of the Moog fight on Xbox by chance?
For Xbox, the last I checked, it was like around 23%, and I believe
Yeah.
for PlayStation, it was about the same.
Yeah, that's what I remember. The last time I went looking through those, I'm pretty sure I saw a number around 25, so 23 makes sense. So it it's a little interesting because I've seen people like arguing. I'm like tripping over my words here. There's people arguing about like the validity of having a DLC where if I paid for it and I can't even get there, yada yada yada. I'm like, I mean, but like I feel like you could argue that for almost any game, right? Like,
Right, like Fallout New Vegas, while you can go there,
mhm.
you're going to get your ass kicked. Like,
Yeah,
the enemies are just so strong. It's like you need to be this level. Like we highly recommend is this level. Uh, what for Skyrim? It's like once you hit like level 20 or do a certain amount of main quests. Because I know you don't even get Soulsime unlocked until you go get the like Girgum Windcaller.
yes, you're correct on that one, I believe. Yeah,
But it's from software. The games are going to be hard. You know they're going to have some requirement that you're going to have to beat this boss, late game boss.
mm,
And and of course it's the boss that's like tucked in the farthest corner of the map
yeah,
too. Moog
which
is
makes them
Moog is
stand
pretty
out.
hidden. He's pretty hidden. Like you can see his area from a good ways away, and another part, you're like, how do I get over there?
Right.
Oh, unless you do this guy's quest line or find this teleporter in this very obscure part of the map. That's the only way to get there. Obviously, obviously with Google at our hands, you can very quickly find that out.
Right, which, like Miyazaki just went out and said not too long ago, like using a guide for these games is okay. Also, for certain things in these games, I feel like they shouldn't require as much of a guide. Things like, oh, well, if you hit this wall 300 times, it opens up. To me, that stuff's kind of excessive. I'm all for a hidden wall, but it should just be once you roll into it, it's like, oh, secret. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Like, I don't know. Yeah,
I
people just
agree.
need to fucking get good and get over there, fight Moog. Yeah, again, like I brought up, it's like I don't see the argument here where they're like, oh, but I can't get to that point. I get killed before I get to Moog. I still can't beat Margit. It's like then you probably shouldn't be buying the DLC for the game. And I know that sounds like I know there's been a little bit of controversy, not like maybe controversy not the right term, but a lot of people who've said not a lot. There have been people in the past who have said that FromSoft is like sort of ableist in terms of like their difficulty. The game's not accessible to everyone, which like not every game needs to be like a FromSoft game. Not every game needs to be a Call of Duty campaign where it's like impossible to not eventually finish it. Like there's no way
Mhm.
you don't beat a COD campaign on Recruit in like under 5 hours. Like you have to. You steamroll. It's a story on rails. That's it. Like,
No, like
but
what you said makes a lot of sense. It's These games are inherently hard.
Mhm.
Like I remember playing Dark Souls 1 when I was like 12, and I beat the first boss somehow. I beat the Asylum demon. I don't know how I did it. Even to this day, I still have trouble fighting him. I don't know why. But little 12-year-old me can beat him, no problem. But I was just walking around and I found skeletons and they kicked my butt and I'm like, huh, that's a skeleton.
Yeah.
Why'd he kill me? What the
Yeah.
hell?
And in
That
that
doesn't
game
make
where
any sense.
if you didn't have like a blunt weapon, they would keep coming back or whatever, and it's like
Yeah.
this is like the worst thing to have in like the first area it's mandatory. It's not like you came across a zone in Elden Ring like that where it's like, okay, you came there, you saw that, leave. Like Dark Souls is like, no, you must fight these skeletons that will keep regenerating unless you shatter them with a hammer. Like, oh, cool.
That's why I kind of like Elden Ring, because once you beat Margit, you can go, you really do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
You can go wherever you want. Well, Godfrey.
Well, uh,
Godfrey. Or Godric. You gotta be Godric first. And then you can really do whatever you want.
I was gonna say after Renala for me is when I really think you have unlimited options because can't you not take the lift or anything until Renala's in hell?
I mean, but you could still go up the. You could still fight your way up.
Oh, you could kill the worm, yeah, or the Draco, whatever it is. I don't care.
You could go
Fire
fight that.
dipshit in cave.
But yeah, that's really it. It's not. It's not a hard game. Well, I'm not gonna. It's a hard game, but being able to like go do other things, and hopefully you'll be able to have better equipment and levels to go fight the boss that was kicking you.
Right.
Maybe then you'll be able to hopefully move past that point. But as we see from the DLC, I don't think a lot of people are going to be playing it right away.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I don't know where I left off like my main save. I don't know if it was like at the start of a new game run or not. So I'm gonna have to see. I might have to fight my way back to Moog to get in, but I mean, we have what, like 4 or 5 days? No, 4 days at the time of this recording.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
So by the time this comes out, we would not. We will have at least had the game out, but
yeah,
by the time this is recording, it's still not out yet. So next week will be our reactions to it.
right. Because I know at least three of us are definitely going to get our hands on it pretty much immediately. So I hope we can have those people on and get a kind of collective thoughts thus far. I doubt we all slam the DLC in like 3 days.
No.
Um, I hope to not slam it really quickly. Like I want there to be, more time to sit with it because this being like the first and final DLC for the game, it's also going to be one of the last times I play it for a bit. Like I recently went back and replayed Dark Souls 3, still great, still holds up. Um, but it's like okay, I'll beat Elden Ring. And it's like I played it so much when it came out, and I'm like, okay, I just need to step away from it, even though it's been like 2 years now. I'm like, okay, we'll beat that DLC, then probably put it on ice for a bit, then come back, whenever FromSoft announces another game in the future to kind of like warm up, start a new run. Maybe use the martial arts shit, which looks super cool in the DLC, but
It's like really cool. So kind of going off Elden Ring, are you someone that's like against using summoning people, like not your spirit ashes, but like actual people?
no, I mean if it's a game mechanic, and I'm not one of those people like if it's in the game, it's intentional, but like this is like it's clearly a system designed in the game. To me, it doesn't really bother me. I feel like you're the only person you're cheating is yourself of the experience if like you have a friend that's like an absurdly way too high of a level come in and just blow through it because I'm pretty sure it doesn't scale off the visitor. I could be wrong. I don't know what the coding is on that one, but I'm pretty sure if you're like level 900 into sorcerer and you show up to like your level 3's friend's Margit, I'm pretty sure you one tap them. Uh or damn near close. And so like yeah, it's like I mean if that's how you want to experience the game, you have that right. You bought the game. You're not hurting anyone. The only person you could argue that you're hurting is yourself because you're not getting the experience of doing it for yourself.
Right. And like me, the only time I summoned people was for the final fight. But that's because at the time I did not own the game outright. I was borrowing it, and said friend wanted the game back. So luckily, Andrew and Skippy, I summoned them. It took a few tries. We didn't do it on a first try, but it took a few tries. But we were able to kill them, and I beat the game. And yeah, I beat it, and now I own it. Now I played a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was a fun time when you were busy trying to summon Skippy, and I had like, you were like, I need to get this fight done because I need to get this game back, and I was like, okay, whatever. And so I was like, oh shoot, I just did a new game plus to get one of the other ending achievements. So I was in the process. I literally had to speed run every main boss to get there in time to face the Elden Beast with you because like I think I was like like on that new run I had just killed like Godric or something like that. And I had to go through and like completely kill everything in like an hour and a half leading up to when you were going to do the fight to get caught up. And I barely got back to the capital in time to have my marker down for Elden Beast. That was not fun. That was a lot of strong arming and like, brute forcing my way through. But I was like, you know what? It's fine.
Yeah, and we had 2 faith users and 1 magic, so we had a ton of projectiles to sling at them.
Yep.
None of us were a strength or dexterity build.
No, which in I would argue for the final fight, I'm not one of those people that's like this type of build's easier. It's every boss fucking some are easier for up close, some are easier from range. It's just kind of whatever. You have certain bosses that are kind of a catch-all. Um, Lord of Cinder from Dark Souls 3 is a good example of one that actually handles both styles of play effectively, but he's also the final boss, so that makes sense that he's able to kind of do it all. And like Elden Beast, though, I would argue I think it's fairly easier on a up close person because you can really punish when it pops out of the water and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to like spells, unless it's like a very quick projectile, if it's in the air, you're gonna miss. Like that thing will zoom past you and you get slammed down on by Nessie.
Man, too many times that's happened.
Dude,
That's for sure.
that fucking boss fight's so cool. That one attack he has pisses me off, and you know which one
Oh,
I'm talking about.
yep, I do. I don't even
Yeah,
need to say it. I know
yeah.
exactly which one.
Yeah, that one pissed me off. Everything else in that fight was awesome though. Like the music playing is so cool because it's like so opposite of what you would expect from like, oh, it's like the epic finale. It should be like heavy metal, Sabaton playing in the background. That type of shit. It's like actually, no, it's gonna be like the most tranquil, like Zen music you've ever heard. So it's this like ultimate struggle against God, effectively, while it's just like someone playing a harp in the background, which I think is pretty funny. But
You're like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. But this music, though.
yeah, it's really nice. Like the whole like cosmic, like ethereal designs. It's very cool. It's probably it's probably the coolest boss fight in that game if Radon didn't exist. I'd probably argue
Radon's a great fight.
that is one of the best. Like again, it's not the hardest, but it is one of the best boss fights I've ever done. Where like
I saw a TikTok video, and I believe I sent it to you, but it was what's the squad that stood on business? And it's
oh
like the
yeah,
whole Star
Alexander
Festivals.
Blade.
You had like everyone from the Star Festivals
Yeah,
and like all charging Radon and like different fan arts, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
yeah, no,
That's great.
that felt cinematic as hell. I mean, like just the fact like you're able to be on horseback, which that fight you should probably be on horseback for most of that.
It's
At least
such
on
a
the
big area to
yeah.
get. At least until you get up to them, then you can hop on your off your horse. But
Yeah, that initial charge though, when you're fucking running down the Beast Titan, you have to be on horseback. And you need to fucking my soldier's rage charge and head in there because otherwise you're gonna get impaled by 30,000 arrows that come out of them real quick.
mm-hmm.
But that fight, oh, so well. It's like that's just a good boss fight, and I feel like that's a thing a lot of games don't have anymore. is just genuinely good boss fights where either they test what you've learned, they test your skill, your patience, whatever, or are insanely cinematic and satisfying. I feel like a lot of times we don't get that because I guess the devs just don't put as much thought into it anymore, really. Because like, what was the final showdown in Halo Infinite where like, didn't you just throw like 4 of the energy cells at the guy and he died?
I'm pretty sure something of that effect.
Yeah, it's not like that's like that wasn't like satisfying. That would have been fine if it was like the first like commander under Atriox or whatever. But like for the final guy, come on, like Chief should be putting this guy through the ringer. Like,
Yeah. So kind of sticking with boss fights, what boss fights from other games do you feel like were kind of lackluster, or some of the ones that you thought were pretty awesome and weren't expecting it?
fucking one of the best ones of all time will always go to Mr. Freeze in Arkham City because it quite literally says you've played the game for like a handful of hours at this point. You know the mechanics, you know different ways you can hurt an opponent and different tools and whatnot. Use them on him because each time like you use a certain technique on Mr. Freeze, it learns and you can't do that anymore. So like you have to hit him like say like 5 times. I forget the actual number. One of them can be like dropping down on him from overhead. From then on out, that will never work. He will like catch you midair and like slam you on the ground and like blast you. You can like attack him from a vent. After that, he'll start checking vents and stuff like that, or like you can like get him through a wall. And after that, he won't let you do that anymore. It's a very, again, not a difficult fight, but it's cool. No pun intended. In the fact that it does ask you, okay, what have you learned? And it feels like a pop quiz, and it's satisfying to beat him down, especially because like Mr. Freeze is like one of the better Batman characters because like he's not a dickhead. He just wants to save his wife. So it's like I'm gonna beat you up, and then he's gonna be like, okay, Batman, here you go. Like I'm gonna open my safe for you, and then it's like, oh, they stole the thing. Damn. Anyway, and then Joker puts him in a greenhouse box thing. Yeah, I'd say that's definitely one of the better ones overall.
Which one that you felt that like I obviously just talked about Halo Infinite, but what's another one that you thought that could have had a better, just something better? I guess I'll just say that.
I'm trying to think. Like, I'm trying to go for games that are like known for their stuff being good in that regards, and then one that like kind of didn't live up to it. Ah, it's really hard. Like, because like technically, some of like I mean technically like San Andreas technically has a boss fight at the end, but it's just you shooting Big Smoke like 900 times, and it's like it's not remotely satisfying or difficult or anything because if you thought GTA 5 had good auto aim, man, San Andreas is another thing. Not a single bullet will miss. Like from no matter how far away you are, if you can see him, you can shoot him pretty much. And I don't know, that fight always felt like kind of like a lackluster way to end that game, which I think is kind of why I never rank San Andreas super high on my GTA list. I'm more of a 5, 4, Vice City 3 type of boy, but they're also not known for combats like that. So I don't know. It's an old game. Maybe I'm just being an asshole. I don't know.
I think one that I wouldn't say is necessarily a boss fight, but is definitely very satisfying is Red Dead 2.
Oh yeah, like the final push up the mountain.
Yeah, I definitely say that's definitely a. I guess it's more of just a final mission, not really a
I would
boss
say
fight.
it's like a final villain encounter. So I would say it qualifies in the same way that the one I just did says because like same idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say Halo 2. The only thing I wish they would have done better is I wish that it was easier to like know how much health he had left.
No,
You're just kind of guessing,
right.
and so I'm just laying waste to him with a needler, and then sometimes he dies and sometimes he doesn't, and I'm like, all right, cool. What are we doing here?
Right. No, I 100% get that. I mean, to that game's credit, it's older, but Yeah, there are ways you could have identified how much health things are gonna have. Like either you show like visually on them. At that point, I think I'd rather just have a fucking health bar show up over their head, like something. Even though it's not
Right.
like canon or whatever, and it's not sightly, but yeah, I feel like it is kind of important in a scenario like that to be like, cool. If I pop out here, is it going to be worth it to try to like trade blows with them, or am I just going to get nuked? Like,
Chances are probably the nuked because he
right?
does have a gravity hammer
Yeah,
and he will beat your skull in.
correct. He does not fuck around. He will make you find out.
Oh, but what's a boss that I guess Borderlands 1, like, yeah,
Oh,
you
fucking
killed
the
you
warrior.
killed the you killed the Vault Beast. Luckily in the like the new one they added like chest and loot for you to do, but I heard in like the original it just went straight to cutscene and there was no loot you could get.
Right.
So that
What's
kind of
what's the monster in one? I said the
it's like
warrior. That's
it's like
not right.
it's the
Leviathan?
like
No.
no it might be
Leviathan's the DLC.
it's like it has like squid. It's like a squid or an
Destroyer.
octopus destroyer.
Because they use the fucking eye for fucking the Hyperion tech.
Yes.
I was like, the fuck's its name? That's right.
Yeah, that fight wasn't inherently hard. It was cool. The trench run up to it kind of sucked,
Yep.
but
Us just
I
running through, not fighting a damn one recently.
no, because I think we were so over the game at that point.
Borderlands 1 has not aged well at all. I think it is like the least charming of the Borderlands games. Like again, at least 3, the story's not very good, but the gameplay is really good. But
Three's
1 is just not.
gameplay, God, I don't even need a story at that point. Just give
I
me stuff to kill, guns to loot, abilities that are cool, and I will use those.
No, you get Mose, who is like objectively probably the least useful, and then you get a Siren that has all the powers, and I don't know if they talk about why that is, but sure, she can do it all.
Hey, but you get Zane. Zane's really cool.
Yeah,
I really like
Digiclone and
Zane.
Drone, and the fact that you could have 2 active abilities instead of an alt or whatever, that was kind of a cool
Yeah,
concept.
yeah, that was cool.
Flack was cool on paper, and then I played him for about 3 hours, and I was like, I'm not feeling this. Like,
I I like Flack's like critical hit ability, but that was it. That's all I
mm,
really used. I didn't really use anything else.
I just went, ooh, robot monkey, go, claw his eyes out. I'm like, okay. And then in like half the boss encounters in that game, I'm pretty sure his pets can't do anything. Like against what's it, Grave Word or whatever, the that was like second vault monster you kill, who's like technically floating off to the side, and it's like I nothing hits them.
I just always called him Groot. He's just a
Yeah.
big tree.
Yeah, no, he was kind of annoying for that sole purpose of like if it was anything like that, the game didn't know how to handle it. Yeah, Grave Word. Which that was one thing that they did right. They did throw multiple boss monsters at you, which is way cooler than just having one that you know is going to just be at the end of the game.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I was
because you
playing
kill 3.
yeah, you kill the one on Prometheus or Athena. I think the planet's called Athena actually.
Yeah,
I meant
Prometheus is a city, I
yeah,
think.
Prometheus is the city. Uh
You kill the one
it's
that looks like a lion. You kill the one we just talked about, and then there's another
it's
one,
another
right?
one. It's been so long since I've played through the story on 3, but I know
I'm
there's
googling
another
it.
one. Because I remember the one on Athena, like I was playing with some other buddies, and I'm like, "Oh, what's this? Is there gonna be a big monster that comes out of this gate?" And then the cutscene hits, and I'm standing right in front of him, and he just insta downed me. I'm like, "Oh,
Hmm.
cool! Isn't it the consequences of my own actions?"
The serpent, which I'm googling because the name sounds sort of familiar, but it would help if I put Borderlands after that, huh? What do you look like? Oh, yeah, okay. I vaguely remember this. This is at that point where I kind of just checked out, but 3 gameplay wise is so fun. The sliding, the mantling, all that shit, that's all great. At this point, the more movement you can cram into a game like that, the better. Like I would love either a character to have the option or in general to like wall run and shit. I think that'd be cool, but
That'd be awesome.
like wall run, double jump, that kind of shit, I'd be 100% there for that kind of stuff. Double jump and then like Goomba stomp, that kind of deal.
I'm always for like games advancing their gameplay, but it's when
Mhm.
they try doing too much, I feel like is when I'm like most put off.
Right.
Because as much because I all right, I'm gonna gripe about Veilguard for a bit.
I was gonna bring
Uh,
it up, so I'm glad you are.
2 players, or you only get 2 other companions. Like I that's why I loved Dragon Age because you could have 3 companions
Mm,
with you. Like I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss having that third person there because from it looks like we're gonna have a lot more companions than Inquisition.
right.
This gonna look like a Mass Effect 2, where there's gonna be so many
Everyone's here.
companions. There's a lot of companions, but
Like,
at least half the characters look really interesting, or maybe
what do
all
you
of
think
them.
the reason is like why they're doing that though? Like,
I I can't really say.
like, because
I
like
feel like a power scaling. There might be some like power scaling that they just don't want. That might be people. Some groups just might be too strong, and they just don't want to deal with it, and
just
made
make
it
the
2
game
people.
harder. Just like I don't know if it's a difficulty thing, just make the game harder or make it to where if there's like a problematic combination of characters, have them be introduced like very far apart in the game in terms of like timeline, because then it isn't really impacting the game for very long. If there's a companion who like synergizes really well with like the first companion you meet, but you meet that companion that first or the second one way late into the game, then it doesn't really matter. But it's probably going to be a Baldur's Gate 3 thing where they just kind of like dump. They go, here you go, here's everyone, because like quite literally, I don't think there's a single companion you meet outside of Act One, right?
Yeah, there's 2, technically 3.
Oh, so you get Jahira and
Chihira, Minthara, Minsk.
yeah, but you meet Minthara in Act One.
Yeah, but she's not able to be a companion
Well,
until
right,
2.
but you're introduced to them in Act One, and I guess technically in Act One, if you're evil, you can probably get them, right?
Uh, n- uh, I don't know that for certain. I have yet to do a bad guy run because I hate being bad in a video game.
Yeah, we know. Goody two shoes over here.
I feel bad making the characters say mean things.
Man, that fake person's crying. I feel bad.
I feel bad, dog. You know, you know how it be sometimes.
Yeah, I don't
But
know. Yeah,
Inquisition
it's
does the
weird.
same thing. Like once, once you get a new companion, they're like, all right, we got to go find all these other people.
Right, that's fair. I don't know. It's weird to just all of a sudden drop a slot, and then unless they're planning on, I would hope that they don't do this, but like if there was like going to be like a DLC, and in that one, then you'll be allowed to have 3, which like that to me would be super shitty if you charged for like a feature that probably should have just been there in the form of a DLC. But
I can't see them doing that.
at, at this point, I don't know if EA lets them do anything. So, because I know we've established under EA they have both made Mass Effect 2 and Anthem, kind of the two ends of the spectrum on that one. So, but I would hope not. But at this point, I feel like EA probably has them on a fairly tight rope because of the last 2 outings. Even though we did establish technically Andromeda made its money back, but it did not make enough for EA to be happy with that whatsoever.
And like, here's the thing: Andromeda wasn't even that bad.
It,
Andromeda was actually pretty good.
it just, the character models looked so wonky. I don't know how that happened. I don't know if that was just them not being sure what the specs were going to be for the consoles, but like even on PC, like they just look like wax figures, and I'm like, why? Why did this happen?
Yeah,
Because like the
I
Mass Effect 1 remake is when I'm playing that right now, and I'm like, man, this looks like really good. And like, I'm like, huh, these facial expressions look better than the ones in Andromeda that I saw.
well, I think another reason why Andromeda didn't do what they wanted is because they tried copying the Dragon Age formula for Mass Effect. Because like you have your area, you have all the side quests in it, you have like all the locations to discover.
Right.
It wasn't so much like 2 or 3 or even 1. I think if they would have just kept that story update, or not story, kept that gameplay mechanic, made the characters better, added some new things. I added a lot of new things, not just some. I think it would have been perceived a lot better, but I think because they tried going more in the Inquisition route in terms of their open world, I think not a lot of people agreed with it.
Yeah, like it feels like a game. Like, I didn't finish Andromeda, so let me get that on the record. I played very little of it and was like, I'm okay. And my thing was like, it just felt like a game that like had like a little bit of an identity issue of. It seemed like it kind of wanted to please old fans while bringing in a bunch of new ones, which you didn't really need to do considering like Mass Effect was like a massive brand. Even back, like even when Andromeda came out, it was much more relevant. Not that's not relevant now, but it's 20 years ago at this point. Um,
Don't say that.
it's we have to face the facts. It's like 20 years ago, but like it felt like like they're like, oh, make it open world because that's like trendy. Like that was like the thing to do, which fucking pissed me off in any game because like not every game needs to be an open world game. In fact, I would argue most don't need to be because if you don't take advantage of the actual open world itself, it's just a time waster. That's all it is. Instead of just, levels or whatever. But I don't know. It's you could have done when I say more of the same. I just mean in regards to you could have done things that worked in the past while adding your improvements, whatever. But yeah, it seems like, and maybe that open world's why some other things went by the wayside because they'd never really done something of that scope for Mass Effect, which is a very different project to have to make a world for than a Dragon Age game. Um, combat's different, all that. So like they have to rethink those things. So maybe too much time went into that. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think for episode 21, that's going to be it. Talking for a good while about bosses, games.
Pretty good time.
The usual, whatnot. Nothing really new. But some new stuff is coming out, and I'm hoping to have some Elden Ring stuff to talk about next week.
Yep, absolutely.
With that, I think this is it. I'm Harmon, joined alongside
Andrew.
See you next week.
See you, everyone.